Right. We're talking today with Jim Van Dusen of Zeeland, Michigan. The interviewer is James Smither of the Grand Valley State University Veterans History Project. Okay, so let's just wait a minute here. Let's go up a little higher. There we are. Okay. All right. So, Jim, let's begin at the beginning. Where and when were you born?
August 3, 1935 in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Okay. Did you grow up in Grand Rapids?
Yes.
Okay. And what did your family do for a living then?
I'm sorry?
What did your father do for a living?
Oh, he had several jobs, but his most important job was selling carpets for Clear Venema.
Okay.
Venema floor covering.
All right. Now, did you finish high school?
Okay.
Did you graduate from high school?
Yeah, graduated in 1953 from Union High School in Grand Rapids.
And then what did you do after high school?
I worked at, I jumped around a little bit, but worked at Reynolds Metals for several years.
Okay. And how did you wind up entering the service?
In the service,
Yeah.
well, my twin brother had joined the reserves, and he loved it.
Okay. And which service branch?
Navy
He was
Reserves.
in the Navy Reserves.
Yep.
Okay.
And he kept telling me, "Oh, you ought to join. You ought to join." So I did, but I wasn't as happy as he was with it. Well, I had signed up for 2 years.
Why?
And I decided to go into active duty so I could get out of the reserves and also wait for my girlfriend to get out of high school.
Okay. Now, when you joined the reserves originally, when you joined the Navy, did you have to go to boot camp?
I hadn't gone to boot camp.
Okay. So, were you doing reserve weekends
Well,
or?
When I went into active duty, they sent me
Okay.
to Philadelphia Naval Shipyards
Okay.
as a recruit.
Mm-hmm.
And they looked at my records and they said, "According to this, you haven't been to boot camp." I said, "That's right." "Oh," he said, "we'll take care of that." So they sent me to Bainbridge, Maryland, where the guys from the East Coast of the United States, that's where they went. Instead of going to Great Lakes, I went to Bainbridge, Maryland.
All right.
And that's also where they trained the waves, the women that are in the Navy.
Okay. Now, what did you do in boot camp? What was boot camp like?
Boot camp?
Yeah.
Well, for me it was a little different because I had injured my Achilles tendons during the marching. So they sent me to the doctor and he said no marching and only the required classes to get through the boot camp. So I spent most of my boot camp writing letters to my wife, to my girlfriend.
Okay. Did they find other things for you to do? Did they put you on KP or anything like that?
I'm sorry?
Did they give you other jobs to do instead of?
No, they didn't give you other jobs, did they?
No.
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 So you just waited.
No,
Okay.
I just had to wait around in the barracks.
Okay. Now, how long was that? How long did that take?
Well, it took the whole 6 weeks.
Okay. All right. And then after those 6 weeks, now what happens to you?
Then I was sent to our ship to board the USS Arnev.
Arnev. All right. Now, what kind of ship was that?
That was a attack cargo ship. The bow, the front end of the ship was reinforced with concrete because it was Admiral Byrd's flagship and went through the ice at both the North and uh, South Poles,
All right.
Arctic and Antarctic.
Okay. And how many men were on the ship, do you think?
Probably 350.
All right. And about how long was it? How big a ship?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Yeah, it had cranes for loading and unloading, and so there was probably 4 decks with cranes.
All right. And then, did you go to sea right away, or did you wait around?
Well, we waited around some, you know. We went to Havana, Cuba a few times, and Puerto Rico, and we had our Liberty there. It's time off, you
Right.
know, and then we started loading the ship for supplies to go up to the Arctic Circle, and we had supplies to build the distant early warning line, DEW line. And by the time they got it finished, it was obsolete. It was so we picked up supplies in Connecticut, and then off into what is that? I got the name here. Our Newfoundland.
Okay.
Our Gentry, Newfoundland. And then we brought those supplies to Baffin Bay, Canada. And while we were in this bay, the captain spotted a polar bear. So he chased it with the ship. And we got ourselves frozen into the ice. We couldn't break loose. So they had to call in the icebreaker. And those guys, they get that ship right up on top of the ice. And then they going back and forth and they break through the ice. So they had to get us broken out of theirs.
Yeah. How long were you stuck?
Oh, a couple of weeks, I think.
Okay. Yeah. So what do you do all that time?
Oh, well, one thing I was an interior communications electrician, part of the electricians mates group. I was kind of an outsider, but not really. And I had to stand watch on in the engine room on the electrical panel, make sure that we had enough power to operate the cranes and everything. If we didn't, I had to start shutting some things off, so the unimportant things. But we unloaded there, and there was one time we saw a plane circling around the bay, wondered what was going on. Well, then they came in kind of low, and they dropped a package, bundle down on the ice. We didn't know what it was, but they sent a crew out after it. They picked it up, and it was mail from home. Oh, it was so, we appreciated that so much. And yeah, then it was back to Norfolk after that.
Okay.
That's where the ship was based. And I had, with 9 other guys, we were carrying a heavy metal box. It was a huge box. It took 10 men to carry it. And we were coming across the deck, and they had this brace to the railing. I was stepping over that, and they dropped it on my foot. And I smashed a couple of my toes, just blew the ends right out of them. So I was sent to Portsmouth, Virginia Naval Hospital. And after being bedridden for a few days, they gave me a wheelchair, but the wheelchair had a wobbly wheel. And I couldn't stand it, so I said, how about just a pair of crutches? So they gave me crutches. I had never used crutches before. And I was resting on my armpits and they got sore. So I threw them out and started walking. And the doctors couldn't believe how fast I was healing. And so they eventually released me back to the ship. Well, when I got back to Norfolk, the Arneb was out at sea. Mm-hmm. So they said, well, we're going to send you to Little Creek, Virginia. That's where they trained the SEALs, which is now UDT, Underwater Demolition Team. Mm-hmm. And so while I was there, I did a lot of cleaning of the officers' quarters. The worst part was doing their Venetian blinds. You had to wash them. And one day, well, I had made several friends of the SEALs and heard a lot of their stories. One of them was that this guy ran from Little Creek, Virginia to Norfolk, Virginia every night. That was about 6 miles running back and forth. So while I was cleaning Venetian blinds one day, they called my name out. And I said, yeah, I'm right here. And he says, get your gear together, you're going to your slip. I said, oh, okay. I thought it was out at sea. Well, what happened was they sent me to the USS Wyandotte, which was going to go to the same area where my ship was. So I went as a tourist on the ship. They didn't want to assign me any duty. So they said, just stay out of the way, sit up on deck and read a book or do whatever you want to, but just stay out of the way. I said, okay, I can do that. So I was kind of a tourist for a couple of days. Mm-hmm. And when they got into the same area, which I think was when we were at Havana, Cuba, that I boarded our ship again.
Okay. Now, were both ships at sea, and did you have to climb from one to the other, or how do you get from one ship to the other?
Well, we were in a pier.
Oh, okay, at a pier.
Yeah,
all right.
We came to a pier. And, when I first boarded the Arneb, I was stupid. I didn't know how I was going to get to it because there was one ship at the pier and the Arneb was next to it. Mm-hmm. So I had to ask somebody coming off for Liberty, how do I get on that ship? And so he told me, you go to the first one, ask permission to cross over. You get to the Arneb and you ask him for permission to come aboard. Mm-hmm. So we made it.
You got there. All right. And then where did you go from Havana?
I'm sorry?
What happened next?
After that, well, they made me an interior communications electrician. My duties were sound-powered telephones. I had to maintain them. And also the battle lanterns that if the ship lost power, then the lights would come on for the passageways. But I had to maintain those lights or replace them if they were missing. I said, why would they be missing? Well, some of the guys would take those lanterns and turn them on and throw them into the ocean to see how far they could see them go down. So I had to replace those and then stand watch on the electrical panels.
So you're mostly inside the ship. So
yeah.
You don't get to go up on deck and look around, or
Well,
you do that when you're off duty?
I did have one experience there where I had to, being the low man on the totem pole, the wind indicator up at the top of the mast had to be removed, lowered to the deck, and then they had to clean the connections because it wasn't working properly. So they made me go up there. They had to turn the radar off so I could go up there without getting zapped. And I had to go out on this arm off of the mast. I had an lineman's belt on me wrapped around that, so in case I fell. And then I had to lift that indicator up carefully, tie a line around it, and lower it to the deck. Then they cleaned the end, and then they raised it up again. Well, all the time the ship is going like this. And I could look down and I could see water, not the deck. But I made it. And we put that thing back together and then back down the mast, and they could turn the radar back on again.
Okay. All right. So where did you go after Havana? So you left Havana. Where do you go?
Yeah, then it was our Antarctic trip, and we stopped in New Zealand and Australia for Liberty there, and I had an experience in New Zealand. There was a movie playing that I wanted to see. So I went all alone to this movie, and before the movie started, they played their national anthem. So we had to stand up during that, and I watched that. I don't remember the name of the movie, but I went all alone. But it was an experience there. The people jammed the piers when we came in there. They were so excited to see us and friendly with us because we had helped them during the Second World War.
Mm-hmm.
And they were just as friendly as could be. If we wanted to, we could have a girl escort us around town, show us the different things. And the black Americans, they told them they were natives of America. Mm-hmm. And they could go around with two girls on their arms. So it was fun, you know. I had my girlfriend back home, so I didn't need that.
Yeah, you were a good boy. So okay. Now you talked about so there were black sailors on your ship. Now, did they have the same jobs as the rest of you?
I'm sorry.
Well, back in World War II,
yeah,
black sailors could be cooks and stewards, and that was about it.
Yeah.
On your ship, on the Arnab, what were black sailors doing?
I couldn't tell you what they were doing.
But did you see them in the regular crew, or
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So officially, the Navy was desegregated
Yeah.
by then. Okay. Yeah. All right. Now, why were you going to Antarctica?
What is it?
Why were you going to Antarctica? What was your mission?
Okay, our mission was to. Our ship carried Seabees,
Okay.
Construction Battalion.
Mm-hmm.
They were going to build an airstrip and a barracks, so they could spend the winter, over the winter,
Mm-hmm.
down in the Antarctic. So it was called Operation Deep Freeze First Phase. There were other phases to go. I never got in after that, but I was on the first phase. And that was to build Little America number 5. And that's why Admiral Byrd was on board ship as an honorary admiral. I was also a movie operator. I did this kind of extracurricular activities. And when we were out in good weather, we could show the movies out on deck. And we had a movie booth there with 2 projectors. So I could show the movies, and they went continuous. But when we were in bad weather, we were down in the mess hall. And we had 1 projector. So I had a bench right next to the projector, and this one day they called attention on deck. Admiral Byrd came down to watch the movie. He came and sat right next to me on the bench and rubbed shoulders with me. It was quite an honor. So, yeah, we went down, and they built that Little America 5, and they were giving helicopter rides to the guys so they could see what was going on. And we were lined up waiting to go on this helicopter. When they came to me, I was going to be the next one on, but a whiteout happened at that time. And a whiteout is a severe fog. I mean, you couldn't see anything, nothing. It was completely white. That's why they call it a whiteout. And so they canceled the rest of them, so I didn't get to go on that. But one thing, when we got down to the Ross ice shelf down in the Antarctic, they had to bury what they called a deadhead. A deadhead is a log that with heavy ropes, and they bury it into the ice and freeze it in there. And that was to anchor the ship to the ice. But it kept breaking away. It kept breaking the ice shelf away. So we had to redo it, get the ship moved back in position, and redo it. And that happened several times. Finally, they got it to hold. And then they started unloading the ship, and we had to work 12-hour shifts. It was like 40 below zero. But it wasn't cold. That was the strange part. The sun was out. It was summertime there. And you could get sunburn on one side, frostbitten on the other at the same time. So we unloaded the ship, and we had carried not only Seabees, but we had carried heavy equipment, great big tractors and heavy equipment. We even had a couple dogs on the ship. And one of the friends of ours that kind of hung around with the electricians, he was a driver of one of those heavy equipments. And one day he was out with this load. He broke through the ice and into a crevasse. That's a deep, deep hole. We never saw him or the equipment again. It was gone. So that was the only really death that we've had out there. So, but even going back before that, we had to cross the equator. And to cross the equator, you had to go through an initiation. Well, several things we went through, kind of goofy things, you know, kissing the Neptune's ring and stuff like that there. But they had a huge metal box that was full of seawater, salt water. And they had a barber chair there that they had a wooden scissors, and they pretended they cut your hair. And they said, okay, he's done. They dumped you over, it was on a hinge. They dumped you over into that water. And they asked a question. When you came up out of the water, they asked, what are you? I had water in my ears and I didn't hear it. So they said, he doesn't know, so I went back in again. Well, I came back up and I shouted, we were pollywogs.
Shellback?
Pollywogs before you went in.
Shellback.
Shellback. We were shellbacks. So I came up yelling, shellback, shellback. So they said, okay. They had one thing when the captain had never crossed the equator. So one thing they did to him was turned a fire hose on him, and he went and got thrown into the railing, and he got hurt a little bit. So he says, okay, you had your fun, turn that thing off. So they weren't allowed to use that on us. But after, well, then we were greased. We had grease all over us. I had some pictures of that. So afterward, we had to go down and take a shower. Well, I was one of the last ones to get initiated because I was on watch. So when I got up to the showers, there was no hot water. I had to take a cold shower. Oh, so that was, but then we had also crossed the international date line. We lost a complete day. So then we got to the ice and did our thing of unloading the ship and everything. And when that airstrip was finished, that's when Admiral Byrd was flown back to the United States. His task was done.
Yeah.
So we went from there, then our mission was finished, so we went to, we had gone through the Panama Canal, but now on the way back we went through the Suez Canal, probably one of the last ships to ever go through it.
At least for a long time.
Yeah, yep,
Because that was 1956?
yes,
Okay, so right before there's a war.
yep.
Yeah.
So we were told when we went through the canal, don't look at anybody on either side because they'll probably blow your head off. So we didn't talk to anybody, didn't look at anybody until we finally got past the war zone, actually. And then we see these camels coming down out of the mountains. And these Arabs had rugs that they wanted to sell to us as souvenirs. They came out, they'd get in boats and come out to the ship. And several of the guys bought rugs. Well, it wasn't long and the ship was infested with fleas.
Oh.
So that was another ordeal. But then we went into the Straits of Gibraltar and through and then back to the United States. So we went completely around the world.
All right. How long did that take?
Oh, probably 3 months.
Okay.
I would say 4 months.
All right. And then did you stop any place interesting along the way?
Okay, we stopped at Barcelona, Spain. I had the duty, so I wasn't allowed to go. But I got somebody to take my duty for me because they were going to go to a bullfight. And I thought that would be interesting, so I signed up for the bullfight. But I wasn't on the original list of guys to go, and they left an hour early, so I missed out on it. While they were there at the bullfight, they sat right behind Princess Grace of Monaco. She used to be Grace Kelly, an actress in the United States. She married the Prince of Monaco. So they were talking with her. That was quite a neat thing to happen. Then we went on to Naples, Italy, and some of the crew had an audience with the Pope. again, I missed out on that. But that was okay. I didn't mind that. But, now that was, basically that was the main stops that we
Okay.
had.
How about Cuba? Cuba and going to church.
Oh, yeah.
That-
One time when we were in Cuba, it was on a Sunday morning, and there were, I think, 3 fellas with me, and we didn't have anything to do, so we were walking on our liberty. We were walking the streets of Cuba, and we came to this church, and the sign there said it was English speaking church, and it was just about time for service. So I said to the guys, I says, what do you say we go to this church? And they said, yeah, let's go. A woman came out and she was welcoming us there, and she says, can you sing? I said, sing? Yeah, I can sing. The other guy said, yeah, we can sing too. So she invited us to sing in the choir with the choir that morning. So we went to church and sang with the choir.
Well, that's good.
That was kind of interesting.
Okay. Now, after you went around the world,
Yep.
you go back to Norfolk again?
Went back to Norfolk, and then my time was up.
Okay.
And they tried to talk me into re-enlisting, but I was anxious to get home. She was my fiance at the time, so I was anxious to get home.
2 weeks. 2 weeks. You
Yeah,
were
when I got home after being discharged, then I got back in Grand Rapids, and we got married 2 weeks later.
And still are, so that worked.
that was
Yep.
69 years ago.
Even before I went back to my previous job at Reynolds Metals.
Okay. Now, did you stay with Reynolds Metals, or did you do other things? Did you have other jobs later?
I worked in the chemical lab, testing some of the equipment to make sure that it was approved,
Right.
you know.
Okay. And did you stay in that job for a long time, or did you change jobs?
Yeah, I was in there probably 4 years.
Okay.
And then then I had an opportunity to have an apprenticeship at Knapp and Bolt Manufacturing. They did builders hardware, and I was given that opportunity through a friend of mine, that I could go and take an apprenticeship there, which I did, and I was there 19 years before I retired. So,
All right. Now, when you think back about your time in the Navy, how do you think your time in the service affected you, or what did you learn from being in the Navy?
what did I learn?
Yeah.
Mainly respect, especially for officers. It was something that I would recommend during the peacetime for anyone that was out of high school. I would definitely recommend a tour in the service, because discipline, it was giving you, you're learning discipline, how to treat people and make up your bed, being an orderly person.
All right. Now,
Yeah.
has he left anything out that we should put on the record?
Oh, there's a lot of things, but he did well. He did good. Yeah.
All right. Well, it's an unusual story, so thank you, and you have a good story there. So thank you very much for sharing it today.
Yeah.
It was our pleasure.